Good morning, everybody. This is the morning after recap from irishsportsdaily.com. I am your host, Greg Flamong. As always, we are here again on the morning after the Notre Dame Navy game. Notre Dame wins 35 to 32. We were left with I think, a sour taste in our mouth because of the way the second half went. Notre Dame up 35 to 13 at halftime, and they don't score another point, and they give up 19. And that's got people understandably frustrated about what happened, but it was a good first half, and it was a good offensive performance, defensive performance, um, on that. And then second half obviously went a different kind of way. So we're going to talk about that. Thank you, everyone, for being here. We've got some people trickling in, as always, and I appreciate everybody being here this Sunday morning. And if you like what you hear, you've never seen this show before, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. We do this every week, every single week we do this. So let's talk about the game. First of all, Pat or Doherty, thank you for being here this morning. Coffee doesn't taste quite as good as last week, but still drinkable. Go Irish. It's fair. It's fair. Indy Dan says my coffee was missing something also, but I just drank the last drop. So Indy Dan is caffeinated. We've got some caffeine. Air Pro K say what's bro. I assume he says trying to say what's up, bro. What's up, Air Pro K? Appreciate you being here. ND for Life says almost feels like a loss with how bad the second half was. That's how it goes when it's when you get a second half like that. It does feel a little bit like you lost the game, or it just like leaves you with a sour taste, and that's not good. So understandable feeling. Tom Whalen says we'll have trouble remembering that score in a few months, but we would never have forgotten a loss. Let's take the W, learn from our mistakes, and move on to BC. I think that's a good sentiment, Tom. I think that's right. I think we will forget about this game. I mean, it's actually a very good. That's actually a very good point. Is that you're able to forget about bad wins like this when you just move on, right? Because then it's like, well, it's just part of the schedule, right? It's just, hey, it's something that happened, part of the schedule, and you're able to move on from it. But if you lose, you have to lament the fact, like we still talk about the dumb Stanford game, right? But no one really talks about no one talks about UNLV anymore because like that's over, right? Notre Dame beat Clemson, and so you move on from it. So that's good. I think that's a good sentiment, Tom. I appreciate that. ND for Life says, "Good morning, all." And good morning to you. I appreciate that. Let's see. Jason Warnock says, I've accepted this year. Please tell me next year Pine Reese won't be the OC quarterback combo. I would say the combo is low. I would say low percentage chance. I would not bet on that. If there were betting odds in Vegas, I would bet that they are both not. That's not the situation next year. That's my bet. Say Park. I'm glad I went to sleep at halftime. He doesn't understand what the big fuss is. He went to bed at halftime feeling like it's gonna be a great morning, and then he woke up and it was probably a little different. I wonder how he felt when he woke up from that. Ray John says, "Morning, Greg. How you doing? How you doing?" Air Pro is asking me, "Do you think we would drop in the rankings?" I don't think so. I don't think so. It doesn't negate beating Clemson, right? It doesn't. Especially when, it's not like they were dominated or anything like that. Like they were up big and they threw the ball over them. It shouldn't matter, especially when teams above you are dropping. I mean, I guess are losing. I guess it's possible, who knows, but it should not be that way. Like, look, if like, just because it's top of mind, like LSU wins 13-10 against Arkansas with a negative win expectancy. Like, are they going to drop? No, they're not going to. So, it's like that. It shouldn't happen. On play calling. All right, good. Is Reese's excuse the limitations of his quarterback? That's from Rajon and Eero 520. Would love to hear your opinion on play calling. Does Tommy call the game differently with a better quarterback? In other words, is Tommy being handcuffed? I think in some ways he would call it differently with a different quarterback. And the other part too is a mobile quarterback would really negate a lot of the things that hurt Notre Dame yesterday, because you can't get outside the pocket, you can't move the pocket, you can't threaten them with a quarterback run. So they can't blitz as many people if the quarterback can pull the ball on some of these and run, right? It's too much of a you're putting too much stress on the defense in that sense. Like, so if the quarterback can't get out and actually scramble away from you, the defense is called a little bit different. So that's a big part of it as well. So he would call it different, but I mean, I think there's some instant, like in the second half, like I thought he called the game in a way that like was independent of Drew Pine. Like I thought they tried to take shots and they didn't work out, and they didn't work out for different reasons, right? So the first play is second half on offense. They go play action. They're trying to take a shot, and Logan Diggs blows a block. I mean, just whiffs, right? And so then that player sacks the quarterback, and now you're 2nd and 15, right? And so then they run it again. They try to get some yards back, and they can't. And then I think what they did, it was like 3rd and 13, 3rd and 14. What they tried to do at that point is it looked like Navy was coming heavy outside, so we'll try to gash him up the middle, try to catch him on something, and that didn't work out either. So you punt. Start of the next drive, I put it on Twitter. They're running RPO. They're running zone read RPO on the outside, and it's just like a simple pull, right? They're blitzing everybody. Just pull it. The corners are playing off. Pull it. Throw to Jaden Thomas. It's there. You have to be able to do that stuff, right? It's not complicated. It is not, the master's level quarterback play. It's like literally they're blitzing everyone. They're playing off in the slot. Just throw it to Jaden Thomas. Get your 8 to 10 yards and let's go. Like you just go. And then they can't just be calling those blitzes all the time. And then that opens up everything else. They run it, get 2 yards. Then the next play, same thing. They run quick outs on the outside, zone read, and he gives it, and it's a 4-yard gain or a 2-yard gain, right? So you're not in 3rd and 6, quarter ends. Next play is the tip ball interception, and then you're going the wrong way. And then the drive after that, the first play, you have Mayer wide open on a wheel route. If you hit him, it's going to be a touchdown. You don't hit him, and that just kind of spirals everything else, right? Next play, you get sacked, and then that's another blown blocking assignment, and that's not going to work. And then you get next play, you get sacked. You hit the big one to Colsey on the crossing route, which is a really nice throw. It's a really nice route and all those things. Next play, you get sacked again on another just blown blocking assignment from running back. So it's just like the plays are there, and you have plays that are there to be made. And for whatever reason, Pine's not getting the ball out. When he throws it, the ball misses, and then you have blown assignments from one Tyree, 2 Diggs. And then third, there was another one where Braden Lindsey's going to run for a touch. He's wide open, and Mayer gets thrown to the side by the corner. And so there's like these are your top end players not making the plays in the blocking game, right? And so he gets thrown to the side. Corner comes in and gets the sack. Pine probably could get the ball out anyway, right? I haven't seen the all 22, so I'm not totally sure. He could probably get the ball out, but he's definitely going to be hit as he throws it, right? So it was a lot of things. It was a lot of things there. And so it's kind of a combination, right? Like some of it's Reese, some of it's play calling, some of it is the quarterback making better decisions. Some of it's the line and other players like making blocks. Some of it is Drew Pine just, hey, deliver a good football. So it was a lot. And the other part too is like it's only 18 plays. It's not like there weren't plays. They had a bunch of plays and they all failed. Like you couldn't get drives started. You can't get drives started, then that makes it really hard. So I got to quick on some comments. Chris Gozicki says, I just hope Al Golden learns how to defend against Navy for next year's opener in Dublin. So I thought the fullback trap stuff in the beginning, like I thought they kind of bottled that up, really. I think what happened in the second half, it was all passing plays. I thought the defensive backs didn't hold up their end of it. With how Navy's moving the ball. I mean, Navy has the ball with 4 minutes left. They have the whole field to drive on, and they end up doing it through the air, right? That can't happen against Navy. So I thought that was the thing. I thought the DBs had a bad end to the game there. So, I thought what they were trying to do initially was fine. It was effective, right? They got on the fullback trap, like no question. And they had to. It took them a couple of series to figure that out. But once they did, it was okay. I just thought the DBs had a poor second half there. Matt Lafreniere, that's what I'm going to say. Morning, Greg. I hate to say it, but BK was right. Running is hard. Yeah, no one said that was not correct. No one said that was wrong. Let's see. Chris R says, still can't get over how the offensive line couldn't open up holes when they needed to a week after pushing Clemson around. Make it make sense. Yeah, I mean, Navy played unsound, right? So Navy played in a way that Clemson would not. Clemson would not play like that. You would not completely leave your DBs, because whenever Pine got the ball off, he shredded them. I mean, 17 to 21 for 268. I mean, you're talking about 12 yards, 13 yards per attempt. So it's Clemson would not play like that, right? They would not play unsound, and that's what Navy had to do, right? And so, it cost them 35 points in the first half. And then in the second half, they were able to get home. And, Notre Dame, they needed Notre Dame to basically fall apart as a pass blocking team. And they didn't. Or in this first half, they did. In the second half, they did. And so that was the bet that worked for them. And so that's the thing that, you shoot gaps and you completely overwhelm the line. It's like the whole Charlie Weiss thing against BYU, I think it was in 2005, where he ran the ball like 3-4 times because they were blitzing on every play. Well, Brady Quinn threw for like 450 yards and like 7 touchdowns or whatever. And he said at halftime, like, look, if they're going to blitz on every play, then we'll just keep throwing it, right? And they did, and they got shredded. So, but you do need to hold up on the blocking end, and Notre Dame didn't, surprisingly, right? You would have thought they could have. I mean, Braden Lenzy had a huge game out there. I mean, he had a huge game anyway, or he had a good game anyway, but he had a huge game available to him if they could have got the ball out, and they couldn't. So that's difficult. A&M's quarterbacks make Drew Pine look like Joe Montana. That's true. He did look like Joe Montana in the first half. He looked great. And I haven't seen A&M's quarterback situation. I don't watch a ton of A&M, but it seems bad. What are they, 3-7? 3-7? That's not good. Air Pro K says, nice to see Colsey making some catches, and Jaden Thomas has impressed me. Amen to that. Deion Colsey, you know what? It's not just the catches too. He looks swift out there. He looks like he's coming in. He's coming into his body. He's running. I think he's running smoother. I think he's running with a little more acceleration. Jaden Thomas looks fantastic. He looks fantastic. High marks for all of that, all around. I don't know that those guys have had a drop. I think it's still the case. You know what? I'm gonna look it up. I think it's still the case that the only wide receiver on the Notre Dame football team that has dropped a pass in 2022 is Lorenzo Styles, and I'm going to look it up. I believe that is the case. Let's go to PFF. Let's go to receiving. Bear with me, guys. Bear with me. Where is it? Okay. Mayer 3 drops. Tyree 1 drop. Lorenzo Styles 5. No one else has any. So Colsey, Thomas, Lenzy, none of those guys have any drops on the season. So it's going good. It's going good for those guys. Drew Pine is Air Pro K. Drew Pine is way too short, 3 or 4 inches taller. You know what? Like the Arizona quarterback, I don't know if you saw him last night. Like he's got to be shorter than Pine. He's a little guy, and he makes it happen. So I think like the size thing is a factor, but it still plays still need to be made. Air Pro K. So Drew Pine has moxie. Sometimes he does. Sometimes he gets a little down, and I would like that to go away. Okay, so Jason Warnock says, I just have a problem letting Tom off the hook because he wanted the quarterbacks and has been coaching them. Why does Drew refuse to hit the backs? Tommy does not point that out. Okay, so this is what I said on Twitter a couple weeks ago, and people got kind of upset with me about it. Is that we conflate Tommy Rees, the play caller and the schemer, with Tommy Rees, the recruiter and developer. And there's a difference, right? I think there's fair criticism, absolutely fair criticism for the way the quarterbacks play and the way they process in games, right? It was Ian Book had this problem sometimes where it's like you're not processing quick enough or you're not seeing where the ball should go. And I think that's been a problem for Drew Pine as well. And that is a Tommy Rees responsibility. Okay. He is responsible for that. So that is a fair criticism for me. It's totally fair. But when we talk about why in this game things are bottling up or bogged down and not working out, I think then it's a different conversation because what he's trying to do is sound, and I understand it, right? And it's not a question of a lot of the time like, well, why didn't you do something else? Like maybe something else would work. Okay, maybe it would. But he can only call one play. He can't call multiple plays and get multiple tries. So for me, I try to be fair with like what they called. Should it have worked based on what he saw? And a lot of the time, yeah, it should work, right? And so that's where I kind of fall into like he's doing fine as a play caller. It's just that he's not preparing his quarterbacks to the point where they can execute the ideas and the schemes that he has on a consistent basis on a consistent basis at a high level. And so that's where I see the differences, right? So that's where the kind of like I think a lot of the time what happens with me on Twitter or on the show or wherever is people see me defending Rees, the play caller, and saying, well, you're giving him a pass because, you know, Drew Pine should be able to do X. Well, to me, that's a different conversation, right? So I'm saying the play caller, the schemer is doing a good job. I think the developer and the recruiter is doing a poor job. That's where I fall, Jason. So, and that's where it's kind of been for the last couple of years. Rajon says we may not see Dracovic next week. Backup has been playing better. I think that's true. I think that's absolutely true. Let's see. Oh man, Air Pro K. I would take Weiss as coordinator plus team recruit his tail off on offense. What Charlie Weiss as offensive coordinator would be fire. I mean, he knows how to call. He knows how to call an offense. That's for sure. He would do a very good job. I don't know about now. I mean, obviously it's been a long time, but if he could have been like the OC in like 2010 when after he got fired, that would have been a good situation. Rajon says Styles doesn't look to be the same player as last year. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to make of that. Honestly, I think that's a fair thing to say, and I don't know why that is. It's a mystery, you know. I don't get it. He doesn't have the same aura about him. Last year, he just seemed so confident, and that seems to have gone. And I don't know why that is. Hopefully, they can get it back. Maybe there's an injury thing or something going on. I don't know. He's better than what he's played this year for sure. So that needs to get sorted out. Let's see. Evan Olson says, seems like Rees is just as inconsistent as Pine when they both are doing well. Amazing when only one is on. Meh. When they are both bad. Well, I don't know. Like, I don't know how to. If Pine is bad, then that reflects on Rees. I feel like if Pine is doing bad, I don't know how to say like no, Reese is doing great. Pine is the one doing poorly. Or like when is Pine doing well and Reese is not? I guess I don't know when that is. When that's the case, I understand the point that there's an inconsistency there. At times, I understand that point. It's just hard to win which is which, like when one turns on and one turns off. James Patricia says we don't know how good is Angeli. So we don't know how good Angeli is. That's true. We don't. It's true. We don't. I think it's fair to say that Angeli is behind Pine in terms of being able to just execute the offense, period. There are certain things to the offense that you have to know just to be able to get protection, like pre-snap, like before the ball is snapped, before there's throws being made, before there's reads being made. You have to know when to send guys in motion. You have to know where to get guys to line up. You have to know 4 plays at line of scrimmage because they're running the scan offense. You have to set protections. You have to do a whole bunch of things that we don't know that Angeli can do to the level that Pine can, right? And so that's an issue for Angeli, in my opinion. It seems, they're not putting him in the game. I think if they could do those things, maybe they could get him going as far as, throws and that sort of thing. But if you can't do the pre-snap stuff, then it's just like you have to go to Pine. You have to get the play started. You have to get the operation going. Let's see, Rajon. If Pine can't process, doesn't Reese need to dumb it down for him? I don't know how dumbed down it can get. Like, to me, like, the dumb it down, right? Like, that to me tells me you're like you're taking off RPOs, like the option, which it's game 10. Like, Notre Dame can't have the quarterback pull and throw in an obvious pull and throw situation against Navy up 35-16. Why? Like, why not? I don't understand. Like, it's Notre Dame football. Like, this is major college football stuff. You need to be able to do that. Like, I don't think Notre Dame is doing anything that's super complicated and elaborate. It just has to be executed. Like in the first half, right? None of that's super easy. The throw to Jaden Thomas, like, that's not easy. That's not an easy throw. Like the throw to Estime. He's falling back. Estime's working across the field, and then he cuts back into him, puts it right on him. I mean, that's all much more complicated and difficult than reading out an RPO. It just is. It's not like you just literally have to count for an RPO. And it's like you look at him, the guy's coming, pull it and throw it. It's as easy as anything else. Like, I don't – every read involves some sort of – every play involves some sort of reading of the defense, So if you can read the defense pre-snap and you can read it, like on any pass play, you have to read the defense. Why can't you do it in this situation? Like, to me, it's not a dumbing down situation. It just need to be better. They need to be better at it. And it's like the fact that it's week 10, like, really, I don't want to even say it's concerning. Like, it's just kind of like, come on, let's go. Like we it's got to get figured out. So, Chris R. How are you feeling about the USC game? I'm still feeling confident that Notre Dame wins out over BC and USC. Chris, I'm glad you're confident. Here's the thing about the USC game is, it's kind of like week to week. USC can score. That's true. I mean, I don't know. They didn't really score against Oregon State or Washington or Arizona State, for that matter, or Washington State. I guess, can Notre Dame, how much pressure can Notre Dame put on Caleb Williams? I think that's the biggest thing. If they can pressure him, if they can, and they need to be able to tackle in the secondary, because USC is a really good screen team. And I don't think if you're blitzing USC a lot, I don't know that that's going to be very effective because they're very good against the blitz. and Caleb Williams can get the ball out fast. And like I said, they're a really good screen team, so they can get the ball out and just put it. They can put the game in the hands of the wide receivers, and they've done a really good job. And Notre Dame has been was a better tackling team against Clemson, but in other games that's been a weakness. So I don't know. And then I think Notre Dame should be able, like, USC won't do the things that Navy did defensively. I think they're soft up front. They're very soft up front. And I don't know that they want to be bullied. That's one thing. No one even attempts to bully them because the Pac-12 isn't built that way, and they don't. Their schedule has been an embarrassment, frankly. And so, there's that. The other part too is if you go back and look, when was the last time Notre Dame went to Los Angeles and played a really good football game? It's been a very long time, in my opinion. It's been a long time. I mean, because look, even in the wins, right? Like in 2018, that was not a good football game that they played. They won, but it wasn't a great game. 16, no, blowout. 14, no, destroyed. 12, 22-13, not a great USC team, right? They won, didn't play awesome. 2010, again, broke the streak and they won, and that's fine. Like, that wasn't a great Notre Dame team, not a great USC team either. I guess for that team, they played well, so I guess that could count. 08 blown out, 06 blown out, 04 blown out, 02 blown out. 2000, they won, and that was probably a good game. You could count that one as a good game. They played well. Bad USC team, though, but they still played well. 98 loss, 96 loss, 94 tie, 92 was a really good game against. The last time Notre Dame beat a good USC team was 1992 in LA. So that I don't like that. That's a bad fact, in my opinion. Let's see. Joe. Oh, thank you, Joe. Joe Mikielski, hit the like button. Yes, let's do that right now. Everyone who's in the show, hit the like, hit subscribe. It takes literally half a second. It takes half a second to hit the like button right now. And if you haven't subscribed to the show, hit subscribe. It's a fun time. We do a good job, I think, in my opinion. I love what we do. All right. Let's see. Oh, good. I'm caught up. All right. I'll hide the current comment. Thank you, Joe, for saying that. That's very nice. We're talking about Brennan Armstrong. Brennan Armstrong as a possible transfer candidate. Yeah, I mean, transfer candidates it's an interesting conversation, right? Like Devin Leary's come up a bunch. Devin Leary has come up the last week, and I mean, it's one of those things. Like, should Notre Dame take him? I would take if I was them. I think you can win with him. Especially given the fact that Notre Dame's going to have probably a good running game. You don't need to supplement it with a quarterback. And I'm super fascinated by I'm super fascinated by what Buckner's going to do, because it's like, is Reese around still? If Reese is around, then I could see Buckner staying. If Reese leaves, and Buckner, I mean, because this could be a redshirt year for Buckner. So it's like he doesn't lose. It's not like he loses a year of eligibility and that sort of thing. And so if you're bringing in a quarterback, it's like a 1-year thing. So it's like Buckner can kind of get back into the groove a little bit, get some more reps and that sort of thing. But I'm curious how that all works out. It's very interesting. It feels like there's a lot of moving parts, ways this could go. So that's an interesting plot line to follow into the offseason. Chris R says, set your K-Ham bias aside. I will never do that. Isn't the Claris Lewis interception and his ability to close on the ball from across the field equal to the interception versus FSU last year? So no, because as soon as Clarence Lewis sees the player going in motion across the field, he's sprinting to the sideline, basically. So he's already sprinting over there. Kyle's play was different, where he started on the opposite hash, reads it, and then starts to break. And that one was a better throw, and he's having to dive and that sort of thing. I mean, look, which isn't to take away from Clarence Lewis. Like, it's a great play. He made a great play. I don't want to take anything away from it. I just think Kyle's play is kind of on a different level, right? That's a different kind of play. But it's a great play. I'm not trying to take anything away from Clarence Lewis. He made a great play on the ball. So that's good. So speaking of Clarence Lewis, I want to talk about Xavier Watts having a great football game, right? So the official stats have him down for 8 tackles, which tied for the team lead. He had a tackle for loss. Didn't give up any catches in coverage. It's just a solid football game, right? PFF had him down for 10 tackles, 2 assists. I mean, tackles are they're very subjective at times. So there's that. But also, like, he had 6 stops. They had him down for 6 stops in the game, which is really good. I mean, from a safety as well. Obviously, you're playing Navy, so you're going to get more opportunities, but 6 stops in a football game is a great job. And I really like where his game's going right now. I think he's doing a good job. I thought Jordan Botelho gave them some good snaps. I thought Prince Kollie gave them some good snaps. I mean, it was a big game for him because in place of JD Bertrand. And that's another thing too. So what happens when we preview the games during the week, right? And we talk about this is how it's going to go. And then we make our predictions and we analyze the game. And that's great, you know? And then you find out like an hour before the game that JD Bertrand's not playing. Well, wait a second now. Okay. JD Bertrand, it has been playing their best football for the last 3 games, right? He's been playing very well the last 3 weeks. And now he's not playing against Navy. That's a big loss, right? Like it's huge. If we had known that on like Tuesday or Wednesday or something, we would have talked about like, hey, that's a problem, right? And so Prince Kollie comes in, plays really well, plays a really good football game, made some plays, didn't have any busts, and that sort of thing. So I just thought he played a really good football game. I thought Xavier Watts played a really good football game. I think Ben Morrison, again, like as a tackler, just continues to be impressive. I mean, it's really good the way he's progressing. And just like, again, as like the aggressiveness as a tackler, didn't give up anything in the passing game. Great job by him. So a lot of good things. Like, look, there's a lot of good things that came from that game. It's just that at the end, you know, like they gave up the fullback traps and then they gave up the pass plays, which is kind of weird. I mean, DJ Brown got caught up in some bad situations. I thought the first one is a penalty in the end zone. Shouldn't do it. He's got to be he's got to be better there. I thought the second one on 4th down, I thought that was a weak call. You know, you're bumping the guy. I don't like it. You're looking to bail him out, and you did. And just the other part too, and since I'm talking about bailouts and that sort of thing, the referee situation just in college football is like at an epidemic level. It's bad. Okay. Like look, Navy runs for the first down, right? At the end of the game. They run for the first down. They don't have any timeouts. Okay. So they go up to spike it. The clock gets messed up. All right. So they spike it. What should be happening is the clock runs for a couple seconds. You spike, and then they have 40 seconds to get the next play off, right? Well, since the whole operation gets messed up for like 10 minutes, this is a team with no timeouts. They get to go to the sideline and talk things over for 10 minutes with no timeouts. It's such a huge advantage. Like it's one of those things like, oh, it shouldn't matter against Navy. It shouldn't happen, period. Like, it's just a totally separate conversation. A team with no timeouts gets 10 minutes to talk about what they want to do. It's nuts. It's just not good. Air Pro K, I appreciate it. Being in the show, he's better than that. I'm telling you, he gets a lot of heat, but his production is just beyond it. It just is. when the guy's playing well, the guy's playing well. We need to recognize that. Just in my opinion, that's how I see it. So, is Pine just a fair weather player? Any adversity and he panics, loses focus, confidence. I'm going to take this in. I'm going to think about it. I mean, I guess there have been moments when I guess, okay, you can tell when Drew Pine is feeling good. I guess they'll put it like that. If he has to work through some kind of when he is so not so much like the team itself, but his own mental makeup. Like you could tell if he's feeling kind of down. It's like energy level is a little bit different. The shoulders are a little bit slumped. So I get that. The problem for Pine is that he can't work himself out of that any way other than just to make the throws. So he can't so Ian Book, right? If Ian Book didn't feel it, if Ian Book didn't feel right in some kind of way, he could run and he could make plays that way, whereas Drew Pine cannot. And that's the difference. Is like the only way you're getting out of this is to stand in the pocket and make good throws, right? And that's the thing that's like lowering his confidence. So, I guess so. To Rick, I guess it's a fair point. I think you're on the right track. I don't know. Like fair weather player seems kind of like a negative connotation, and maybe I don't want that negative connotation, but I think your overall point is correct. I think that's a fair comment. I do. I just think he can very quickly lose. He can very quickly lose his spirit. And it's hard for him to get it back other than to just make good throws. He can't go to other ways. He can't go to other aspects of the game. So, Sajin Park, all those Butkus award-winning linebackers have spoiled us. I thought Bertrand looked pretty good last couple of games. I agree. I agree with that as well. Mark down. I don't think so. I don't think that's Tom Robertazzi. Mark it down. 3 lost Notre Dame and 3 lost LSU playing a bowl game. I don't think it's possible. From a bowl tie-in scenario, I think there's an issue there. It would be crazy. It would be crazy, but I don't know that Notre Dame can do that. Mills, yeah. I don't know what that is. We're talking about. Oh, okay. Here's a question. Evan Olson. Add one non-quarterback from the NFL. Doesn't have to be an ND alum who adds the most value to this team. Give your second choice behind Kyle. I mean, non-quarterback from the NFL. I mean, they're NFL players. Anyone? Let me switch it. I mean, I would take. Okay, let's just take. I'm going to switch it a little bit. I'm going to take former players who left the team early. Like, who would you rather have on this team from last year? Would you rather have Kyron Williams, Kevin Austin, or, and I can't say Kyle. That's the rule. So Kyron, Austin, or Jack Cohn. Who would you rather have? I think everyone would take Cohn, probably, right? I mean, if you took Cohn, you'd be fine. I think Kyron would have. I think Kyron's numbers this year with this offensive line would be enormous. Yeah, it would just be. It would just be because Kyron sees things that the other guys don't, and he has a little bit more wiggle in the open field. So he would do really well with this line. He never got line blocking like this. I think everyone's saying, "Oh, Jeff Fain at center." That's good. Yeah, I think everyone's saying Cohn. There. Charles Faber. Did you like the run game scheme yesterday? I know Navy was shooting gaps, but is there any way Notre Dame could have thrown through wrinkles in the run game? So I think I think Dan Orlovsky said this during the broadcast. Notre Dame throws in their wrinkles pre-snap. So post-snap, everything is kind of the same. They run the same stuff. Pre-snap, that's where they try to trick you. Like they do different motions. They put tight ends on one side, then they flip them to the other side. They'll take split tight ends out, bring them in, and then they'll bring in the wide receiver, and then they try to outnumber you that way. They try to find mismatches through motion and pre-snap movement. But they have their base plays, and I think the plays work for what the running backs are. So you can't. It's very hard for Notre Dame to get to the outside. It's very hard for Notre Dame. And one thing I didn't like about yesterday is they never ran anything that threatened Navy horizontally. Everything was, it's all, to the backs and that sort of thing. Like get Styles going wide, get Lindsey going wide, right? Like try to stretch them to the point where it's like, it's not everything just isn't happening in one confined space, because Navy wanted to play in a confined space, right? Like that's what I didn't like. I thought they could. I mean, it's hard in the second half. Like, so the first half, you're happy with what they're doing, right? In the second half, it's hard because they only ran 18 plays. So it's like, oh, I thought they could have done X, Y, Z. It's like, yeah, but they couldn't get a first down to do X, Y, Z. Like there was one after the pick, they returned the ball to the 50. It's 35-24. I think it was 35-24. Or whatever it doesn't matter. They had a possession where it was 35-24 because Navy took a couple times to score. They had a possession at midfield. You start the drive with a quick bubble to Mayer for 6, right? And then you just go heavy again, and you try to ram them up the middle, and so you gain 2, and then you gain 0, and you have to punt. It's like, just keep it on the outside, because that's where they're vulnerable. They've been vulnerable all game. Like, why are you condensing the field again? Because that's where they want to play. Just get the ball outside. You have a huge mismatch out there. So that's what I didn't like about, I guess the scheme, the run game scheme. Like, because to me, the RPO stuff is part of the run game scheme to me, because it's a run call. Right. And you can get it out. You like jets, like it's technically a pass, but jets to the outside, that is part of the scheme. Right. And you have a guy, Braden Lindsey, who's feeling good about himself because he's playing a great football game. So put him out there and give him the opportunity to make some plays when he's feeling good. So, Rajon makes a good point about Jadarian Price being a big addition running back next year due to outside run game. Agreed. And also he's got that burst up front where it's like the little gap that he has burst that Estime and Diggs lack, and that Tyree just simply cannot take advantage of his speed for whatever reason. He gets to the line, he does quick choppy feet, and right when that happens, you've slowed yourself down, and whatever hole is there, you're going to hit it slower than you would normally. It honestly drives me crazy, but it is what it is. And I think Jadarian Price is a lot more decisive. So excited to see him next year. Donald Hollingsworth makes a really good point. My favorite part of the game, actually having interesting announcers calling the game. Yes. Like Dan Orlovsky. But how much money does NBC have? Give him all of it. All of the money. All of the budget. Everything. Give it $50 million a year. Dan Orlovsky, call Notre Dame games, 7 games a year. I want to see it. You mentioned it, but it was Lindsey's best game. It was his best game this year for sure. I mean, look, the touchdown he caught where he's behind the guy's back, he's wide open by like 5 yards. He could have had a huge game. Lindsey could be having the greatest senior year, of all time. He could be having a huge season. I'm talking 8 or 9 touchdowns, deep balls, but I don't know. It just wasn't meant to be for him. I feel bad. Air Pro K's got to go. Smash the like button. Smash the like button. There are more people here than last time I said it. Smash the like button. Hit subscribe button. I love doing this show, and we love giving you good content, right? Me and Jamie will be here Tuesday and Thursday, 11:30 Eastern, 8:30 Pacific time. Get more people watching that show. It's a good show, guys. It's a good show. Watch it. It's good. You should watch it. We're fun. We have a good time. Okay, a lot of good stuff. All right, check out our show. All right. Dan Orlovsky can sometimes have inaccurate takes, but his analyst breakdowns are incredibly easy to understand and relevant. That's from Andrew Gracefa. Here's the thing. For me, it would be so hard to give like the breakdowns that I do on Twitter. It would be so hard to do it in real time. You know what I mean? Like he processes it so much faster. Like he sees it and he kind of knows what's going on and he knows the concepts and everything. Like what he does is way beyond like the stuff that I'm doing. Like he's played quarterback in the NFL, right? So he should be able to process these things really fast, but he does a really good job in real time. I mean, he'll call plays, like he'll draw up the play like before the play happens, like like live, not on replay. So he does a really good job. Let's see. Mark Brown says the middle of the field was wide open in the second half. Pine held the ball too long a lot. There are a couple instances where you do feel like the ball's got to come out. Without the all 22, I couldn't say exactly when. Sometimes like people will be open, but it's like if you're getting ready to throw, like to me, it's like I kind of understand why he's not trying to throw this, even though it's like he'd be at best he's throwing it as he's getting hit, and it's like maybe that just makes him a little bit nervous. I don't know. I thought the line really. There were moments when Reese had a really good play called for an explosive, and the line just kind of let him down, and especially like the backs, like the Logan Diggs one was bad. I thought the Michael Mayer one was bad. It's just bad misses in key moments, and I understand Mayer's not usually blocking. I get it. But the corner's not usually rushing the passer either, You gotta do better there. You gotta do it. It's your job to do it, Andrew Gracef, I appreciate it, man. Love this stream and podcast. Great. Keep it up. I will keep it up. And I appreciate you, Andrew. And everyone who's here. I really appreciate you being on the show. Tob Rebertazzi says, does Reese hire a quarterback coach to save his job? I don't know about quarterback coach just because of the number of staff, that's allowed. But I really do think, and this is a good point and a good question, Tom, is I really do think they need to bring in a outside person, like an analyst or someone to come in and work with quarterbacks so he can focus just on the scheme piece, because and getting the team into the play call and that sort of thing. Cause I think that's his strength. For whatever reason, I just think he has a tough time getting the quarterbacks to see the things that he sees. And it was true with Book, in my opinion. And I think it's true in this case as well. And so to Tom's point, I think a weakness has been identified and it needs to be made into a strength. And that's the key to it. And so I agree with that someone needs to come in and help Reese develop quarterbacks. That's how I feel about it. Michael Sinnott says, good morning, all. Despite yesterday's struggles, I'm optimistic about BC and USC. Okay. Thank you, Michael. I appreciate your optimism, and we take that in and we send it out to the world. And I hope your optimism breeds good results. Gordon Butler says, not sure Kylan would improve running game that much, but his pass blocking is sorely missed. It was missed yesterday. And you know what's funny is the backs have been good in pass pro all year. Logan Diggs has been good all year there, right? Estime, Tyree, they've all done a good job. It was very surprising to see them have mistakes like that and busts like that, because they've been a lot better throughout the year. It was, obviously it was a bad time with the team blitzing as much as they were. It was a bad time to have some breakdowns, but win the game, right? You win the game. You're 7-3. And I think If Notre Dame needs to figure it out versus BC, and there's been a few comments about BC's quarterback. Obviously it's not Phil Dracovic. He had a good game yesterday. He threw for, I think it was 330, something like that. And they beat NC State. I think they beat NC State scoring 21 points, which Notre Dame should not lose a game when you give up only 21 points. And they scored their 21st point with what, like 14 seconds left, so they're sitting there with 14 points and you score with 14 seconds left to win the game, right? So you have 14 points very late in the fourth quarter, right? I think that if that's how it goes against Notre Dame ought to be up by a few touchdowns. And so that's how it's got to be, right? I mean, BC has a bad offensive line. They can't run the ball. They're a very bad running team. And I think if Notre Dame is in a position where they can tee off on somebody, I think they're going to have a lot of success there. But you can't, it's like a Stanford. You score 14 points. Any team is going to be able to be in the game against you if you can't score. Marshall, Notre Dame sitting there with 15 points in the fourth quarter. Any team can score 10, or 12. Marshall's got 12 points in the fourth quarter. Why is that game close? Because Notre Dame only has 15. It's just that's the thing. I mean, I don't, score points, and then it doesn't matter. If NC State has 35, doesn't matter the 21st point that gets scored with 14 seconds left. So that's the thing. You just got to be complimentary football. You got to be able to score points. Flowers, obviously, Joe McLowski says Flowers is arguably the best wide receiver in the nation. Maybe he's a good football player. He's going to give Notre Dame problems. He gives everyone problems. He's good. Charles Faber says, I was so pumped with how Notre Dame finished the first half. Freeman was aggressive, and it ended up being the difference in the game. That was a good sign. That's a good point. Good point, Charles. They did. They blocked the punt. The next play, they went deep to Jaden Thomas. Jaden Thomas made a great catch. Drew Pine made a great throw. They were very aggressive, and it did win in the game. And I put it on Twitter, like, look, for as much as we're upset about Drew Pine's second half, he won the game for Notre Dame in the first half. That is undeniably true. He won the game. They couldn't run the ball, and they didn't help him out in that respect, and he made throws that ended up winning. I mean, look, we're very upset. It's a 4-touchdown passing game, 5 touchdowns total for Drew Pine in this game. That he won the game for Notre Dame. There's no other way to see it, in my opinion. It's a good throw to Estime. It's a good throw to Jaden Thomas. A couple big third down throws to Colsey and Jaden Thomas on another one. The throw to Lindsey, is obviously a great play by Lindsey. Not a ton of credit there. It's just a flip to Tyree. No great shakes. But then he has the great run on the on the scramble where he gets outside, cuts inside, and scores a touchdown. So he won the game. I don't know that that's true, Jason. Is that true? Is you saying BC is bad running the ball means they will run for 250? Seems whatever weakness the team has turns into a strength. Honestly, I do not think BC is capable of running for 250. Like I don't think it's even possible. I think you put me out there, but Jason, put me and you out there. I don't think they could do it. They're not a good. They won't even try, to be honest. They're not even going to try it. Look, a good running game for them would be like 20 carries for like 80-something yards against Notre Dame. That would be a good game for them. They're a bad running team. I don't even want to look up their stats from yesterday. But it was like they had like 20. Oh, look it up. Jesus. They had like 20 carries for like 30 yards or something. They're a bad running team. Let me check here. All right, ACC. I'm looking on my phone because I don't want to do the thing. All right. Team stats. BC. 23 rushing attempts. -1 yard. 23 rushes. -1 yard. Yikes. Oh, man. A Broom, 6 carries, 13 yards. That's a good game for BC would be 20 carries, 50 yards. All right, Jason. And look, listen, if Notre Dame gets run on next week, that I will have that will be bad. That will be bad. NIA LLIV. Notre Dame should move up a spot or two. I think 16, 19 all lost. Sooner, even a spot or two should be reasonable. I agree. They should move up. Why shouldn't they move up? They won, and they beat Clemson too. It would have. They absolutely should move up. Absolutely should move up. Oh, Chris R. How fired up would Mike Frank have been if you joined the post-game show yesterday? Very fired up. That would have, me and Jamie were talking about that. He would have been in a mood, but he couldn't come. That he was busy. We knew going into it that he was busy. So, oh man, that would have been something. That would have been something. He didn't like how they beat Syracuse, or was it Syracuse? Yes, he didn't like how they beat Syracuse. What was that? 41-24, something like that. 17-point win. Didn't like it. It's funny. That's funny. David Solomon says the BC game will be a lot like the Stanford game because BC is known as little brother of Catholic schools. They hate Notre Dame and know if they play hard for 4 quarters, Notre Dame can be beat. I think teams know you can hold Notre Dame. You can keep Notre Dame from scoring, and that's how you can beat them. That's the way it can happen for Notre Dame. I mean, look at I've been saying, man, this team is they can lose to anyone. They could lose to any team because they have trouble scoring and they can be bogged down on offense. So that's kind of how it is. It's a funny team. That's for sure. Gordon Butler says BC averages 2.1 yards a carry on the year. Leading rusher averages 3 yards a carry. Yeah, and I just think they're just gonna wing it. Why not? Why not? It's gonna be cold. It's gonna be very cold next week. Hopefully I'll be there. I think I'm scheduled to be there. Make sure that the credential comes through. But if it does, then I'll be there and it'll be a fun time. So, all right, guys, we're coming up on an hour. I got to do morning stuff with the children. So I appreciate everyone being on the show. I appreciate all the comments. I appreciate all the discussion. It is a very good time as always. Once again, if you haven't done so, hit the like button, hit subscribe button. We will be here. Me and Jamie will be back on Tuesday at 11:30 Eastern time, 8:30 Pacific time, talking about this game, talking about Boston College, talking about all the goings on with Notre Dame football. And then we'll be back on Thursday at the same time, 11:30 Eastern, 8:30 Pacific, to preview Boston College. So I appreciate everyone for being on the show. You guys are the best. Trent, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Jason. Later, Rajon. I appreciate you guys. So we'll be back Tuesday, 8:30 Pacific, 11:30 Eastern. We'll talk to you guys then. Have a good Sunday.